political as personal. We have a number of special guests tonight, including the African-American composer, conductor Kevin Scott, whom I've known since 1987, and whom we commissioned to write a piece for us for this concert, which he did for violin, horn, and piano, a lovely work called Night Journey, which Dan and I rehearsed with Kevin's chosen hornist. Unfortunately, she had an accident, injuring her knee. So the premiere of that work, which we were planning to play along with the Brahms Horn Trio, had to be postponed. This left a very large hole in the program, which we'd originally planned for Black History Month, followed by a March 2nd program for Women's History Month. But we realized we have a lot of music on the theme of spring for March, so we decided to put women composers and composers of color onto the same program. This one tonight, recognizing that both groups have been marginalized for centuries and deserve more attention now. We're very pleased to have with us tonight not only Kevin Scott, but also three women, two of whom happen to be people of color. We'll begin with a sonatina by the Israeli composer Yardena Alotin, a work I picked up on my first trio in 1984, shortly after its first publication, which I've always wanted to perform, but never had the chance to until now. Yardena Alotin was born in Tel Aviv in 1930. She came to New York, where she taught and died at the age of 64 in 1994. Unfortunately, I never knew her, but I think her music speaks for itself. The sonatina is in three short movements, Allegro vivace, Andante sostenuto, and Allegro molto, and was written in Israel in 1970, and has a distinctively Israeli character, though the first four notes of the violin part may remind some of Leonard Bernstein's New York, New York. Listen for it, you'll hear it. You're on, Helene. Okay, with that horror, let's go on to the next piece. At our last concert, Helene sang a piece by Ellie Siegmeister and Langston Hughes, which referred to a beautiful woman Hughes had been in love with in Moscow in 1932, Silan Chen, the daughter of Sun Yat-sen's foreign minister, whose mother was Afro-Cuban, thereby rendering her not just biracial, but triracial. It's my privilege to introduce now a composer I've known for over 30 years, recommended to me by Siegmeister, who I remember called her a very fine composer who happens to be Black. She now occupies the classical music seat that he once held on the board of ASCAP and is in fact also triracial. Welcome, Tanya Leon. Unmute yourself. There you go.
Hey, how are you?
Hello. So I was initially prompted to contact Tanya after listening to the ever-dwindling collection I have of music by living composers on LP, and I came upon a record that you made. Here it is. With our mutual friend, the composer Noah Krzyzewski,
Yeah.
who just passed away last December. And then I read that you had written and dedicated a piece to him, which I very much wanted to play. And unfortunately, you said you couldn't find the piece.
Yeah,
but you generously sent me another piece, one of your first compositions, Rondo a la Criollo. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yes, Rondo a la Criollo.
And tell us about the piece and the circumstances of its creation. Was it one of the first pieces you wrote when you decided to be a composer?
Well, the thing is that no, I was not a composer. I was a student, and it was an exercise for harmony. And the teacher or the professor asked us to do it in rondo form, and I have no idea. You know, it turns into a little piece. And that is when my piano teacher knew that I was actually leaving the country. And my piano teacher said, well, we might lose a pianist, but we might gain a composer. So I had no idea. I didn't start really studying composition until I joined forces with Arthur Mitchell and the creation of the Dance Theater of Harlem.
Yes.
Told me to write a piece. And I just, you know, I mean, out of ideas, I wrote a piece, but I have not studied composition. After the ballet was actually on stage and I saw the whole thing happening, then I went to NYU and I told them to change my major because I was validating myself as a pianist. That's how I arrived in this country.
So have you performed this piece as a pianist yourself?
No, but it has just been recorded for a CD of piano pieces. And they are opening with some of my pieces that were not pieces. I mean, this is something that I put together when I was a student.
So this piece has never actually been performed publicly before, is that right?
Well, it had been performed, you know, but now it's going to be really part of a CD, so people are going to find out what happened.
And has it been choreographed?
No, it hasn't.
Not yet, huh?
Not yet.
Well, it's a delightful piece. It's not so easy. I made 5 takes until I came up with the last one, which I hope you were happy with. I sent it to you. So we'll all get to listen to it now. This is Rondo a la Criollo by our first guest, composer Tanya Leon, performed here on our Steinway by me, Leonard Lehrman. Well, thank you. Thank you, Tanya. And thank you for listing this program as part of your annual Composers Now Festival.
Yes.
Did you want to say a word about that?
Oh, yes. Well, Composers Now is devoted to really empower composers and actually honor them for their contribution to our society, artistical contribution to the society. And it includes composers of all genres of music, of all, I mean, from the very, very, very beginners to, I mean, people that are very seasoned, and you know, includes all the variety and the diversity that people are talking about now. We have been doing that for 10 years. So, I mean, I'm very, very happy that this is happening and that this event is part of the festival. Yes.
That's great. It touches my heart, Tanya, to have a chance to work with you now. We've known each other so long, but this is really the first time we've actually worked together. I appreciate it a lot.
Thank you so much.
So I mentioned Ellie Siegmeister earlier, and also Langston Hughes. Siegmeister actually set more of Langston Hughes's poetry than any other composer. And there's one very famous poem of Hughes's, perhaps his most famous poem, which Ellie did not set. It's called Harlem, or A Dream Deferred. And it includes the phrase "a raisin in the sun" that Lorraine Hansberry, of course, used as the title of her most famous play. So in 2002, we were celebrating Hughes' centennial at Queens College with 20 Siegmeister songs. And I decided to set this text myself and add it to the program. It's been sung by both white and black singers. I think Darrell Taylor has sung it. Here it is, sung by Helene Williams at the 2011 New York State Green Party Convention. So we have at least one wonderful black singer on this program, not on the program, but in attendance today. I see Charles Samuel Brown is with us. Charles, I would love to have you sing that sometime, among others. So one of my favorite composers who also set Langston Hughes to music was a Cleveland native named Hale Smith, who moved to Freeport, where he died at the age of 84 in 2009, where his widow still lives. And we are so pleased to have her with us. Hello, Juanita. Unmute yourself there. Hello. Can she hear me? I think her screen is frozen. Juanita? I can see her, but I can't see her moving. Maybe her screen is frozen. Oh, well, we'll try to get her on somehow. One of the amazing things that about Hale was that he was equally at home in what we used to call serious music and in jazz. And we're going to hear from both sides of his oeuvre today. These are pieces that Helene and I had the great pleasure of performing and recording under his tutelage in the late 1990s on Capstone Records. First, I'm going to play a very short 12-tone piano piece he called Evocation. Here's the score. And actually, this is my favorite part of it. He inscribed it here. Can you read that? It says, yeah, for Leonard Lehrman in Friendship. Hale Smith. After the serious piano piece, then Helene will sing 3 of his popular songs, which we also recorded on Capstone, and which he originally wrote with just lead sheets, but then at my request filled them out with completely written out, elaborate piano accompaniments. Juanita, are you with us now? I can see you. Can you unmute yourself? Yes, push. You're moving now and you're talking, but we can't hear you. You have to unmute yourself. Maybe we have to invite you to unmute. Let's see if this works.
Hi. It's, yeah.
I
thought I.
There you go. Hi, Juanita.
Am I on? I don't know.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Oh,
Would you like to say something
Can you
about
hear me?
how those pieces were composed?
hi. I said, Tanya, I liked your piece. And George, can you hear me?
Thank you.
I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Well, I can hear everybody. I can hear everybody. Nobody can hear me.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, I told Tanya I liked her piece very much. I don't know whether she heard that or not.
Yes, I'm sure she did.
Anyhow, what do you want me to say, Leonard? I'm sorry, I missed part of what you were saying because I went off.
Yeah. You told me that Hale didn't like the word serious. You told me that Hale didn't like the word serious as applied only to classical music and musicians. That he preferred formal and informal. And you told me that he never composed at the piano.
That's right. And you're going to do his informal.
I'm going to do his
Yeah,
evocation.
well, you're going to do his informal. I'm trying to say you're going to do his informal pieces today, the 3 songs. Can
That's
you
right.
hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. He prefers to use the word formal for his classical music and informal for everything else. So that's what he always said. He hated.
And you told me that he didn't like to compose at the piano and that he had a funny experience with scales. You don't remember you told me that story?
He did not compose. Yeah, he did not compose at the piano ever. And
Hi.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Leonard, can you hear
Yep.
me?
Yes, we can hear you.
He did not compose at the piano, and he only used the piano if and when he needed, and that was very, very little. And he never practiced, and of course that was to his detriment because he failed his senior year in failed piano with Arthur Lesser, who threw out a number of things, who went up the scale and couldn't come down, so he had to leave. So that was it. So he didn't graduate with his class. But
That is such a funny story that
he
he was able to go up, but he couldn't come down. I love that story. Okay, so we're going to hear his evocation.
Come down, so that was part of it.
So we're going to hear his evocation, followed by the 3 popular songs, which are called "Where Have You Been Since Yesterday," "Oh Gee, How I Love You,"
Yeah.
and "When I Look in Your Eyes."
Yeah, that's right. So
Please.
I'd like to hear them.
Please, everyone, remute yourself.
I just muted everybody.
Unmute. Okay.
you been since yesterday? I've waited here in our room without taking time to eat. Who did you see instead of me? I'm getting jealous and mad and so very angry too, 'cause I'm in love with you. Don't you love me too? Where did you go? I want to know. I want to see everything and hear everything you do. And if you ever leave me, I swear I'll scream and yell and pull out what I have left of hair. And all will be because of you. And all will be because of you. Oh dear, how I love you. What else can I say? Is there any way for me to stay away from you? What is there about you that can mesmerize me, that can paralyze me when I'm away from you? I've known many men before, broken many hearts before, yet when I'm around the town, your image follows me and interferes with my infidelities. I'd like to be free of you. Maybe see the last of you. But is there any way for me to stay away from you? To save myself from you. I've been around for a while, and I'm way out of style. But when I look in your eyes, I sure realize I'm yours. I've had a wonderful time giving lovers a lie. look in your eyes, I sure realize I'm yours. And when I look in your eyes, I sure realize I'm yours. I've been around for a while, and I'm way out of style. But when I look in your eyes, I sure realize I'm yours. I've had a wonderful time while giving lovers a lie. But when I look in your eyes, I sure realize I'm yours. I'm so glad I've been had by all your wonderful charms while I'm here in your arms. And when I look in your eyes, I sure realize I'm yours. And when I look in your eyes, I sure realize I'm yours.
So for those who just joined us a little late, those were the Evocation and then 3 popular songs by Hale Smith, your dear friend and a wonderful composer whose 94-year-old widow, Juanita, is with us today. And I just want to say that one of the people who joined us just now, I can't help but I hope he doesn't mind introducing him. He's the first black tenor ever to sing at the Met, a very dear friend who sang my opera 36 years ago in Berlin, and 12 years ago sang with me and Helene at the National Opera Association Centennial for Elie Siegmeister. A great singer and a great humanitarian and a mensch, George Shirley. George, hi, great to see you. Do you want to unmute for a second? Can you unmute? There you go.
Hello, everybody. I'm sorry I was late. I do some teaching still at the university, so I was Zooming. But I'm sorry I missed Tanya Leon's piece, unfortunately.
Well, everything is on YouTube.
Oh, good. That's good. That's good. I'll catch it. I will catch it.
You're at University of Michigan, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, we saw you there about 2 years ago. And just this past weekend, the University of Michigan published or posted on their journal, Music and Politics, an article on civil rights songs, a listing that I wrote of 522 civil rights songs for 5 centuries. And somebody else just joined us, Ralph Locke, was the one who inspired me to do that. So Ralph, thank you so much for being with us and for doing that. It's great bringing everything and everybody together like this. Ralph, you want to say hello? You can unmute yourself.
I'm very pleased to be here. George Shirley, I'm pleased to be in your presence. Of course, I value so much all the opera recordings you made through those years, including bringing us repertory that we wouldn't have otherwise been associated with or familiar with. And Len and Helene, it's great to be here and hear again. Very different kinds of music, very different kinds.
All kinds, but all good music. Einfach gute Musik, Gerhard Rondo used to say in his Vienna performances. So it's great to have everybody here. Now I want to introduce my very good friend, the composer, conductor, Kevin Scott. Hello, Kevin. Can you unmute yourself?
Yes, I can. And I'm going to do the video too.
I'm not
Yeah,
seeing
how's
you.
that?
There you are. Okay, great. So Kevin, even though we won't be hearing the major piece that you wrote for us today, we're going to hear another piece of yours, which we're pleased to be presenting, and I think it's world premiere, right? It's
Yes,
a
it
piece
is.
for solo viola, and I gather it was inspired to some extent by Hector Berlioz's Harold in Italy. I found this wonderful painting of Harold in Italy.
Mhm.
If anybody knows who the painter was, you can tell me. It's actually from the recording of Primrose playing it with Beecham. Ralph, you can probably find that out easier than I can. So anyway, Kevin's piece is only about 2.5 minutes, and it's called "In a Minute, Harold." So let me invite Kevin and Dan, who'll be playing it, to talk about it a little bit. Dan, you can unmute yourself, and Kevin, tell us about the genesis of this piece.
Well, before I get to the genesis, I want to say hello to George Shirley, whom I have not seen in many, 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 many years. George, it's been a while because I first met George back in the 80s when he was doing a recital in Orange, New Jersey. A friend of mine, called the Withers, and I turned paint that concept. And about a year later, George came to my program on YEM, Ebony Classics, and he sang on the wheel with Bob Ham. Great experience. Believe me. George, thank you. I'm here.
Kevin, I'm sorry, I'm not getting your audio with clarity, and I'm missing about 80% of what you say. I don't know if it's just me or others as well. You're sort of breaking up.
Speakers on. Turn them. You have
It has to do with there's something wrong with the yeah, I think they fixed it finally.
Now it's good.
Yeah, something went wrong. So I'll say it again. Like I said, it's been a long time since we met. We've met back in the 1980s when I don't want to hold up too long because we're going to get to the piece. But I just want to say that I turned pages for George at his recital at East Orange, New Jersey, in a church. My friend Robert Hammond, who's no longer with us, accompanied him. And about a year later, George appeared on my program on WNYE-FM called Ebony Classics. And we had a long chat about opera, music in general, and he even sang a couple of numbers at the end of the program with Bob playing. And as I said, Maestro, it's great to see you again, and thank you very much for being here.
Well, I thank you for remembering it and bringing and tweaking what's left of my memory cells. But thank you very much. It's great to see you again as well. Thank you.
Now, about my
So
piece.
Kevin, talk about your piece.
Right. Now, the piece was written in 2014 on a call for scores from Vox Novus's 15 Minutes of Fame for the Romanian violinist Cornelia Petru. She wanted a piece where it was very multi-layered and polystylistic. So I submitted my piece. It wasn't chosen, unfortunately. But when I was writing it, I said, what do I write for solo viola? And as I was thinking it over, I realized Harold in Italy of Hector Berlioz is a symphony for viola and orchestra. And I love this piece. And I said, let me do something very strange with it. So I lifted themes from all 4 movements. And because the requirements were to play the piece in 1 minute, I called it In a Minute, Harold. But there's another story to the Harold too. And I told Dan about this. There's 2 Harolds. One is, of course, Child Harold, and that Lord Byron wrote, which inspired the symphony, which Berlioz wrote for Paganini. And also there was this young woman who lived in my area in Pelham Parkway in the Bronx. And she would always come up to me and say, hello, Harold. My name isn't Harold. She kept calling me Harold. She insisted my name was Harold. When I went to OTB, where she worked on White Plains Road, she always called me Harold. Never did she call me Kevin, always Harold. So, and I'm trying to get to know her better, and she's always teasing me in this. So it's a little bit of both, a visit of Berlioz in the past and a visit of what happened to me in the past. And
So, Kevin, when she called you Harold, did you call her Maud?
oh, I didn't think of that, and I should have, because I told her Maud, yes.
So Dan, tell us about learning this piece and what you found of Berlioz in it.
So I greatly enjoyed collaborating and talking and trying ideas back and forth with Kevin, and that's been as much fun as the piece, really, that establishing that bond and that conversation. There are No, I want to emphasize that I'm mainly by training a violinist and singer, that taking up the viola at a time when another middle-aged man might have bought a red convertible was a midlife change for me that I have really relished and greatly enjoyed. Um, but even as a second instrument, it's a delight to tackle a piece this challenging and this interesting. There are several clear hints of Berlioz's music, things like this. Um, and then there's a lot of passage work that is quite different. But then we find Barrio Lodge. The original piece Berlioz wrote for Niccolo Paganini, who was also mainly a violinist. But he could certainly get around the viola, and he enjoyed a kind of passage work called Barrio Lodge, which is like strumming a guitar chord back and forth. And followed by, and then this catchy tune. Which is then very rudely interrupted by an angry kind of blues. So the piece is sort of like a kaleidoscope that keeps turning and turning and turning and changing. So I hope everyone is half as excited to hear it as I was to learn it and to perform it.
Great. So now let's hear Daniel Hyman in the world premiere of the unaccompanied viola solo piece by Kevin Scott titled In a Minute. Harold? Thank you, Dan, and thank you, Kevin. And now we'll have music by 3 women composers whose works we've performed on numerous concerts and who are all members of the Long Island Composers Alliance, of which I was the first president in 1991 to 98. 2 of them, Adele Burke and Jean Singer, have passed on, but one of them is still very much alive and with us tonight, Mira J. Spector. Hello, Mira. Unmute yourself, dear. Where'd she go? Oh, she's here. I just saw her.
Can you hear me?
Her grandson, there she is. Okay,
Hi,
Mira.
how are you, Leonard? Thanks
Yeah,
for
her
inviting
grandson
me.
Gabriel and we had a Zoom rehearsal the other day, so I know this is going to work.
Can you hear me?
Mira and I first met long before either of us joined Leica in 1985, when I translated and conducted the European premiere in Berlin of her Holocaust opera, The Lady of the Castle. Here's the poster from Kunsthaus Britannien, which is where George, it's where you sang my opera exactly a year, half a year before. They were both in 1985. You were in January and she was in the summer of 85. The Herren des Schlosses, the Lady of the Castle. And that was the occasion of Mira's first visit to the city of her birth since her rapid departure as a child following the coming of Hitler to power. Fleeing to Paris, then to New York, always one step ahead of the Nazis. She's written a number of chamber operas, music for film, numerous songs in French, German, and English. She and I have continued to work together in concerts by her Aviva players devoted to works by women composers, and in the Musicians Club of New York, where Helene performed one of our favorite songs of hers, which Helene also sang at our wedding back in 2002. Here is that Musicians Club of New York performance of Mira Spector's Take Me Home Tonight.
Take me home tonight on a long cab ride through cold and rainy streets. Take me home
Mira was there. She was just off the camera. We signaled to her at the very end. She told me that that piece was actually written for a film originally and then incorporated into the Housewives cantata, most of which was written with June Siegel, but that's her own lyric. I want to say one thing about the piece, that when Helene sang that at our wedding, it was the first time that her teacher, Cornelius Reed, George, you remember Cornelius Reed. Helene studied with her for many, many years. And it was the first time he'd heard her sing in public. And he said that that was the best singing he'd heard of her. It was that piece, Mira. Thank you so much for it. So we're going to hear two of Mira's German songs, settings of poems by Goethe. And I'm going to invite her to say something about them. I know the first poem has been set to music by at least 22 other composers, including Schubert, Schumann, Wolf, Rubinstein, John Duke, and Eric Zeisel. It's one of Mignon's songs of longing for paradise and lost youth from Wilhelm Meister. And another one from that work was set by Beethoven, was on a program 2 months ago. The second song has also been set to music by at least 6 composers, most famously by Schubert. Mira, what made you decide to set them not longer after we first met in 1985 in Berlin?
Well, actually, I love the songs, the poems rather, but I did not choose them. I especially like the line, "Let me live forever young." But I did not find those. They were found by a soprano whose name I forgot, and she had a commission, and she gave me the poems just before I went off to Europe with my husband and another couple. And I set the songs during a rainy week on a closed, empty hotel terrace with an old upright piano while my husband played bridge. When we got back to New York City, the soprano had gotten an ugly divorce and canceled her concert. But since then, the songs have been sung, and they were just recently recorded by Parma Novana Records.
So here's a new...
But I loved what Helene did to it.
Oh, thank you, dear. So here's a new video of 2 of Mira's 3 Goethe songs with dual subtitles in German and in English.
People, before I start the video, please turn your own videos off. Just you click on video and we won't need to see you. You can still see us. Thank you, this disembodied voice said. Good. Oh, all right.
Zieht mir das weiße Kleid nicht aus. Ich will von der schönen Herne hinab in jenes feste Haus. Dort ruhig eine kleine Stille, dann öffnet sich der frische Blick. Ich lasse dann die reine Hülle, den Gürtel und den Kranz zurück. Und in der himmlischen Gefalten, sie fragen nicht nach Mann und Weib, und keine Kleider, keine Falten, umgeben den verkleideten Leib. Zwei dich ohne Sorg und Mühe, dort durch tiefen Schmerz genommen, vor Kummer altert sich zu frühe, macht mich auf ewig wieder jung. Macht mich auf ewig wieder jung. die erste Blume im Garten, die erste Blüte am Baum. Und kommt der Winter wieder, sing ich noch jenem Traum, sing ich noch jenem Traum. Ich sing ihnen mehr weiter, auf Eises Länge und Breite, da blüht der Winter schön. Ach, diese Blüte schwindet und neue Freude erfindet sich auf bebauten Höhen. Denn ich bei der Linde das junge Völkchen finde, sogleich erreg ich sie. Der Stumpf und Bursche blüht sich, das steife Mädchen dreht sich nach meiner Melodie. Nirgend den Sohlenflügel und treibt durch Tal und Hügel den Liebling weit von Haus. Ihr lieben holden Musen, wo ruh ich hier am Busen, auch endlich wieder aus.
So that was quite an adventure, finding translations for those two pieces. The first one I found a few, and I didn't like any of them. I mean, so lass mich scheinen, wie bis ich werde, literally means so let me seem until I become, but that's not what it means at all in English. And so it was a real challenge to find a free translation that was actually true to the real meaning. And the second one was one that I found on Emily Isus's wonderful archive in Ottawa, but it was actually for Schubert's setting of the Musensohn, where he does a lot of repetition, and the translator took liberties of writing extra lines, so I had to truncate it a little bit to make it fit Mira's text. But it was fun. It was a really great experience, and we've been doing a lot of these translations and subtitling since we learned how to do it. So now we're going to hear the 3-movement violin piano sonata by Adele Burke and the 4-song cycle of love by Gene Singer. Both composers were born in 1924 and lived until 2010 and 2000 respectively. Adele was a very dear friend, a fine musician, teacher, pupil of Norman Lockwood, Irving Fine, Edgar Varese, and David Diamond, and composer of award-winning choral music, a great deal of which we had the pleasure of performing, especially her setting of the psalm, "They shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks," along with 3 of her songs, which Helene and I recorded on Capstone, the Capstone CD, Songs of Love, that's here, which also has Gene Singer's on it. I should have mentioned earlier that Hale Smith's work is also on these Capstone CDs we did with Leica. The 3 popular songs are on this CD called More Songs of Love, and the Evocation is a piano. The piano piece is on this piano solo album. Adele's Bob was a very fine violinist, violist, one of 3 string players who played in my reduced orchestration of The Sound of Music in Roslyn in 1995, directed by Ben Spearman, who is with us today as well. So through Bob, I think Adele really learned how to write for the violin, right, Dan? The movements are allegro, lento, and presto. We're going to go directly from the Burke into the Singer. Gene Singer was also a good friend, an excellent pianist and teacher, a pupil of Nadia Reisenberg and Douglas Moore, and the founder of the Musinger Players, which performed a lot of her music, along with music by some of her favorite composers, including Brahms, and you'll hear that in her last song, I think. Her husband, Richard C. Singer, died when she was 52 years old. She came home from his funeral, threw herself into a passionate piano improvisation that became Lament, the 3rd song of this, her very first song cycle. She called it a cycle of love in memory of Richard C. Singer, discovered, fulfilled, lost, transfigured, a woman's journey through love and life, in the words of distinguished American women poets, in which she included herself, Anne Marks, Amy Lowell, and Madeline Mason. And we've performed many of her other songs, which number over 150, many of which won awards, all written in a period of 24 years. But this cycle, which reminds me very much of Schumann's Frauenliebe und Leben, has always been our favorite piece of hers. Helene and I performed it many times as part of our Songs of Love program and recorded it on Capstone. The final song, a sonnet setting, is quite reminiscent of Brahms's Wie Melodian, which Helene sang on our concert last month, and at a concert we gave in Jean's memory. This is the program with a nice picture of her at the Shelter Rock Library in June 2001, almost exactly 1 year after her death.
When you came, you were like like the night, whose dark and jungled galaxies mist throng, by day unseen. No noons of sorrow my eyes, tears sharp, they see you with new sight. Now things fair bring to the haunted sense token of you, and beauty is a glass wherein I gaze, and kneel in deference before your image, while my eyes are mass, celestial loveliness so dearly prized, returned to me from death, immortalized.
Well, thank you all for coming. Before we unmute everyone and greet you individually, let me say a word about the next concerts in our series honoring the memory of my parents, Emily and Nat Lehrman, who died last month, 6 years ago, and last year. At 5 p.m. on the first Tuesday of the next 4 months, March 2nd, April 6th, May 4th, and June 1st. We'll be celebrating Spring, Jewish Music Month, my father, and students and teachers. Our guests will include Joel Mandelbaum, cellist Joshua Epstein, and my former student, Scott Eaton Feiner. In September, we'll be highlighting music of romance and Romania. In October, Russia. In November, autumn. And in December, winter. And now let's meet some of our guest attendees. But first, Helene, I think you wanted to say something about the Gene Singer cycle and how it resembles but also differs from Robert Schumann's cycle on the same subject, a woman's life and love.
Thank you, Leonard. I first sang through Schumann's well-known setting when I was in my early 30s. I didn't care for them at all because the woman portrayed seemed to be so submissive and conventional. I felt as if the entire cycle was told by an adolescent. It did not speak to my rather assertive, individualistic nature. The man didn't seem particularly passionate either. Whereas Gene Singer's cycle portrays a woman who was passionate throughout her life and who was eager to enjoy her equally passionate boyfriend, lover, and husband. Of course, Schumann's cycle dates from 1840, and expectations of women were different back then, and poetic temperaments were different too. But death brings a passionate response from both women, but whereas Schumann's woman turns inward, Jean's reaches for something outside of herself. And the last words of the final song, "Oh, Beauty Brings You Close," the words "returned to me from death immortalized," to me are magic, bringing back love so strongly that the person is still with her. This is very much like me.
Thank you, darling. So, Mira, you wanted to say something about upcoming events. If you want to unmute yourself, now's your chance.
Oh, thank you. Well, I have 2 new CDs. Thank you for asking. First of all, I love this concert and I loved Helene singing, and I love Jeannie Singer's songs. She was one of the first composers we performed when I created the Aviva Players in 1975. And she was a lovely woman. I liked her. The other thing about my upcoming songs, thank you for asking. I have 2 CDs coming out on Navona label, Palma Records Navona label, and my film made by Bank Street Films called Villa Diodati about Mary Shelley and Frankenstein was seen in Washington, D.C. on television and on the PBS All Arts in New York, where it is now streaming. Thank you for asking.
Great.
And thank you for inviting me to this.
Oh, it's a great pleasure having you here. You've been here to our house once when we did some songs in our annual June recital some years ago. But now we have people from all over the country, all over the world, and it's a lot more convenient in some ways. The blessing of the curse of the pandemic, so to speak. Great, it's great to have you. Great to have all of you here. I want to say hello to LaDonna and Bill, Donna Allison and Bill Pacer. I see they are here from Atlanta. And we're going to be doing some work with them if they want to unmute, or it may not be convenient. I see Arliss Wood is here, and who's that with you? You want to unmute?
I'm Suzanne, and we're with Mira.
Oh, you're friends of Mira. Oh, that's great.
Yes.
Well, any friends of Mira are friends of ours.
Thank you. Come to
Great to see you here. That's great. Thank you. Thank you. And let's see, Amy Ewing is here. Hi, you want to unmute yourself?
Hello, I enjoyed.
Great to see you.
Thank you.
Amy is a great culture goer, and she sends out lists of cultural events every year. They're amazing. I hope we'll make it onto this list this time.
Every week.
Yeah.
Every month.
It's great. Great to see you. Mark Greenfest is here. He's a critic who has been absent from the scene for a while, but has been coming back. And I don't think his video is on, but he's muted. But if he can turn that video back on, or can unmute, we'd love to.
He also sends out lists of things to see. I think I got about 8 or 10 today. Thank you, Mark.
Mark has written for the New Music Connoisseur and for SoundwordSite.com, and we're hoping maybe he'll actually write something about our concert series. We'll see. Who else am I not seeing here? Oh,
well, I had a whole bunch of classmates. My high school classmates, Lisa and Steffi and Seema and Renee were here, which is really it's a
Ray Osterud and Mark Wasserstrom were here. I don't know. I think well, people tend to leave at the end of the concert, you know, sticking around. Wait, I was on the Harvard call about foreign policy from my class. About 113 people were on the Zoom, and when they closed the meeting, only 15 remained. But some of the most interesting discussions took place among those 15 people afterwards. So we had 26. Now we're down to 19. But let's see, whom have I not called? Charles Samuel Brown, you want to say hello? Charles?
Yeah, well, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, well, I don't really have anything to say, but I see Juanita here. I'm happy to see her. I saw George Shirley here and several other people, and I just want to say I'm just happy to be here. That's all.
Oh, we're thrilled to have you here. Looks like you're in your bedroom right now. Is that right?
I am.
Well, that's the best place to have a concert, right? Okay. Now I think Charlene, is that your daughter, Amira? No, you have to on Charlene and Mira. Why don't you each unmute yourselves? We can't now. I can hear you, Mira.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I wanted to add something. I met you through your mother, who came to hear the Lady of the Castle in a Jewish music festival in Comac, Long Island, which is about an hour from you, from Valley Stream.
That's a Jewish Arts
Yeah,
Festival
and she
of Long
mailed
Island.
it to you, and I didn't want to
that
go back
was
to
in,
Berlin. I didn't want to go
83,
back,
yeah.
but I went. My husband told me to, and we were so glad. Otherwise, we wouldn't have met. That was wonderful.
Well, I'm glad your husband persuaded you to come. It was
Yes.
great meeting both of you there and continuing the relationship since then. It's delightful.
That's a long time ago.
83 is when Mom heard that, and 85 was when you came, and we've kept up since, which is great. LaDonna and Bill, you've unmuted yourselves. You want to say hello?
Hi there.
Hi.
No, come over so you can see the
I
camera.
don't see you, LaDonna. There you are. Hi.
Hi. Hi.
Is it cold? Is it cold in Atlanta? Look, you look like you're wearing too many clothes.
It was very cold.
Oh. Well, we're looking forward to working with you tomorrow and on our Valentine's Day concert in Florida by Zoom.
Looking forward to it. Yes, it'll be great.
It'll be great. Sephora Miriam.
Hi.
Hi, you're unmuted. You want to say hello?
Is my mic working? I don't know.
Yes,
My setup is all.
Yes.
Hi, this was great. This was stunning. What
Thank you.
fun. You guys are busy and creative and connecting and amazing.
Well, we make lemonade, so to speak. But seriously, the Zoom has enabled so many things that weren't possible before, and we certainly have learned a lot from it and with it.
I like your microphone, Sephora Miriam.
You like
Your
like
microphone.
the sound of it?
Yeah.
It's sounding good? Oh, that's
Oh,
really
yeah.
good because I've been struggling. So this is the microphone.
Okay. Thank
It's-
you. Thank you.
It's called
Got it.
Fine. I can send you a link if you're curious. I'm not, I don't really hear it.
No, of course not.
So it's tricky to figure out. But the mics in my webcam have not been great. And I'm not sure this mic is so good for singing, although I was hoping it would be, but I haven't tried it. But I think for speaking, it's okay. Yeah.
Sounds nice.
It's very good. It's very good.
Okay, great.
Ben, do you want to say hello? You have to unmute your mic and put on your video if you do.
Hello.
It's a cute picture, Ben.
Yeah.
Your I don't know what they call it. Your image picture.
Oh, yes. That's a relatively old headshot at this point.
Okay.
But hello.
Hi.
Good to see you.
Hi.
Evening to everyone
Hello.
from
Nice
the snowy
to-
Bronx.
To remember our Sound of Music production 25 years ago via Bob Burke, the husband of Adele Burke, for whom she wrote that piece that we did.
Yeah.
It was, we're going back to a great deal of our heritage that is worth remembering and saving.
Yeah. But no.
So-
Hello, everybody. Hello, Mom. How are you?
I'm fine, dear. How are you? I
I'm-
texted you the other day. Did you get it?
I did.
And
And
every time you send us an email message at the bottom, it lists the things that you're about to do. But why don't you tell everybody, because they don't get your email the way we do.
Well, I just completed a Gluck Orfeo with opera in Williamsburg, Virginia, which will go live at some point in the next month in its final edited version.
Great.
There are a few things I'm supposed to do whenever they happen. Production of a new opera called Angel by composer Andrew Ager in Ottawa. Eventually, Bronx Opera will produce The Bartered Bride, and I'll direct that. We are now preparing a Zoom version of the Impresario, Mozart's Impresario, so that's kind of in
Great.
process right now, getting all of the different parts of it together. I'm back in school finishing my long delayed bachelor's at Lehrman College, and as part of my work as a theater major, I'm directing one of the 5 student one acts, which are going to be presented next month on I guess on Zoom and Facebook Live, and am in the department's large spring production, which is a play called The Last Days of Judas Iscariot by Stephen Gurgis. So a lot going on.
Isn't that the plot of Jesus Christ Superstar?
Ish. It's a little bit more. The characters are a little bit more eclectic. Which they include Freud. They include. I think Einstein. It's a very different historical characters testifying for and against Judas, basically is the idea. And I play the judge, so and Caiaphas the elder as well. So it's an interesting combination of characters. Anyway, that's pretty much what's going on. I don't leave my couch much to do all of this, but but it's all happening. So
you've got one other production that was mentioned at the bottom.
So yeah, Sacco and Vanzetti, right, coming up. I guess we'll see what we're able to do in the fall, but certainly at some point we'll produce. I guess you could say the first fully staged production of the Blitzstein, Lehrman, Sacco and Vanzetti. So we're looking forward to that. Hoping that happens. I saw Karen Jolicoeur was on earlier. So
she's going to be taking a role in it for the first time.
One of our cast members, yeah.
We're hoping that's going to happen. Really, I think it may depend on the vaccines. Helene got her first shot this weekend, And I
Mazel
promised her
tov.
we wouldn't go anywhere until we both have it. I'm thinking of waiting for the Johnson & Johnson because I get very bad pains in my arms from inoculations, and it's notorious in the second shot. And Johnson & Johnson is only one, so that's supposed to be out this month, and I think I'm gonna maybe wait for it if possible. George, are you still with us? It was so wonderful to meet you earlier, but we didn't actually get to hear very much about what you're planning for the future. And particularly this is Black History Month. You have a lot of events.
Oh, there's such a crazy echo here.
I have school. I have 1,000 Zoom meetings and interview stuff, and I have more than I can keep track of, but I'm grateful for that possibility of continuing to stay engaged and keep the gray matter, the gray cells functioning. And so busy. And I enjoyed this very much indeed. I didn't know of your series, and I will check you out in the future.
That's wonderful, George.
The beautiful thing also about Zoom is I didn't have dinner, so I was able during this time to sort of give you my photograph while I continued to enjoy the concert over dinner. But
that's great.
This is, you know, this Zoom business and virtual reality is going to be with us from this point on, whether we are able to go back to live performances or not. It's going to play a role in how the arts and everything else is transmitted to the audience.
The genie is out of the bottle now.
Well, at the University of Michigan, when North Campus was created, 3 schools that were included were engineering, the School of Visual Arts, and the School of Music, because of the desire to create a closer collaboration between these schools. And I'm on the board, the advisory board of the University of Michigan Musical Society, and we had a board meeting about 2 weeks ago. And one of the members of the board, the advisory board, is the chair of the School of Engineering. And I mentioned at one point that probably won't happen in my lifetime, but maybe it will, that we'll be able to teach virtually or gather virtually by having people beamed down, you know, beam me down, Scotty, virtual people right in front of us. And the dean of the School of Engineering said, well, you know, yes, we're working on that kind of thing, so it's liable to happen. So out of tragedies and out of challenges like these come innovative processes that will carry us heaven knows where. So it's good to see that you both are involved in keeping yourselves active in the arts, keeping yourselves in front of the public. And I'm really pleased to see the number of young singers, many of whom are out of work now because opera houses are closed down. How many of them are just taking the technology and finding ways of presenting themselves, staying in the game in really out of the box ways. And it's very exciting. So hopefully, again, we'll be able to come back to something that resembles the old normal, but it will never really quite be the same. So bravo to the two of you.
Hopefully it will have been enriched.
Indeed, indeed.
So thank you so much, George. Thank you, everybody. Helene, do you want to have the last word? It's always good to give the wife the last word.
That's awfully nice of you, dear. It's almost time for dinner, dear. Why did we order in, dear? Thanks, dear.
What does the Jewish American princess make for dinner?
Reservations.
Right. Okay.
Thanks, my dear.
Okay, thank you so much. And Mamie, thank you. It was a pleasure having you on with us again and co-hosting, and it was great seeing everybody. And I hope we will look forward to seeing all of you, or many of you, on March 2nd. We'll be doing music mostly on the theme of spring, but we'll have some surprises too. So thank you again.
Nice to see you all. Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Leonard, I gave you permission to end the meeting. I can't find my controls. Honey, do you press leave? I can't see anything.
Can't end the meeting?
I'd like to end the meeting.
Isn't there a button to push end meeting?
Oh, there it is. It's hiding. It's hiding in the closet. Goodbye, all.